Hey YouTube, Sam here. Just got done doing shocks, and in the middle of doing that I figured out I need to do sway bar end links, which I did a video on that, and brakes, which I have yet to do. I ordered some brakes up, and they cost quite a bit of money, and when I went to move this thing a little bit here, it won't start. It'll crank, but it won't start issue. So in the midst of doing the shocks and the sway bar end links, and I also replaced the pump on the windshield washer bottle. I think that's about it. Anyhow, in the middle of doing all those things, all of a sudden it just won't start. Now I have had a problem with this not wanting to start. Like, it cranks for a while and then it'll finally start up, kind of thing, and sometimes you even had to pump the gas a little bit, which is something you shouldn't have to do on a fuel injection. So I knew I was having some sort of an issue, but I wasn't sure exactly what. In the midst of going online and looking at things, I found it's called EasyAutoDiagnostics.com, and they have all kinds of things about this rig as well as many others. So, and it was I hate reading, absolutely hate reading. If I can find it, I want to watch a video on it. That's just the way I learn. But they were very easy to understand and follow directions step by step on what things were and how to diagnose it and what problems could be depending on this or that. So go check out that. No affiliate, they aren't paying me anything. I just happened to find it when I was looking stuff up, but they had lots of good information. Things you need, obviously: air, spark, and fuel. So those are the three things that you have to have all at the same time to make a car run. So any one of those things not working correctly can stop a car from running. So we are going to diagnose all those different things. According to my notes that I took here, some of this stuff I knew, some of it I didn't, but it could be the crank position sensor seems to be something that goes wrong with these things. Coil pack, which is something I think I might have an issue with, even if that's not what's stopping it from starting. Fuel pressure, so I need to go see if I can rent a fuel pressure gauge. If not, I might have to go buy one. And relays. Relays seem to be a common issue somewhere in the box there. They start corroding or something quits working on them. So we're going to try and jump start that. These are things that I'm going to start with. So the first thing I did was check the inertia switch. Some people call it a fuel cutoff switch, an impact switch. I don't know. I did a separate video on it, so go check that out. That wasn't my problem. So, but that's a pretty simple thing to start out with. It's just literally a push of a button if it works. And there's a cover that's right here. 4 screws, unless the last guy that worked on it before you didn't have them in there. 4 screws, you pop that off. You get your throttle body right here, where your air filter tube goes into the throttle body. I disconnected that, shot some starting fluid in there and tried to start it up. It just cranked, didn't do anything, which in that case makes me more think this didn't do anything for me. Now, if it was to crank over, then there's a good chance that especially if it cranks over and dies each time you shoot it with a little bit of this, there's a good chance you definitely have a fuel problem. It's either your fuel pump is not working for some reason to get the fuel to the engine, or there's something clogged in between. So that would definitely mean it was a fuel situation. Since mine's not doing that, I'm going to spark. And the first thing we're going to do, excuse the light there, is right here. It's the coil pack or ignition coil, whatever you want to call it. Actually, the spark plugs come to termination at over in here. And I know there's 2 different kinds of these, so if yours looks similar but not quite the same, the stuff I'm doing all applies for the other one as well. And yet again, keeping it simple, we started with the inertia switch. That didn't do it. Now we're going to go here and we're going to start jiggling wires. And back behind here, right there, that plug goes into this pack. And I'm just going to go back there. I'm going to make sure that it's tight and plugged in good. I'm going to jiggle a few of the wires around a little bit. Make sure you don't jiggle too hard and end up pulling any out. But if you jiggle a little bit and one pops out, you know, that's probably your problem. But I guess sometimes these can actually kind of wiggle loose and come off and things like that, and can make problems. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go in, I'm going to see if it'll start. Simple as that, but something tells me it's coming. We're down here underneath the car, and right here is the belt, your serpentine belt. It's the very bottom pulley down here, and on that is the crank. And right there, those wires coming out of this kind of grooved thing here is the crank position sensor. That is something that goes bad on these, and yet again, it's something you can wiggle the wires on. So we're going to go ahead and first start out by wiggling wires, see what happens. In cranking over this, I noticed when I turn the key on, I don't hear any fuel pump. Now, being as if it was fuel not getting to it, I would think that doing the starter fluid would make it work, but who knows if that works on this type of vehicle. I really don't know. I've wiggled the wires, nothing there. Next thing, I'm going to go in here and kind of take a look at this fuse power distribution box, because technically your fuse box is inside. This is also has fuses in it, but it also has your relays and those kind of things in here. So we're going to check this. They're over on the driver's side. The battery's right here. It's just right back here on the firewall. It opens up. Now I got to look in my book and figure out which one of these actually goes to the fuel pump, because unfortunately the only thing on here, unlike a lot of vehicles where they kind of tell you what is what, on here it just says look in your owner's manual, which I don't have the correct owner's manual for this rig. So I'm going to take a look in my Heinz here, or Haynes, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately I couldn't find a Chilton for these, and I really don't like the Haynes manual. Alright, well, I got into the power distribution box, and I believe, from looking at this, although I am not positive, that this and these have to do with fuel pump. I'm not sure. It kind of looks like it's this one, but I would think it would be a bigger one too. So, first thing I'm going to do is push everything in. Make sure it's all in good. One of these, it's either this one or this one, also I believe has something to do with the fuel pump as well, but we'll go ahead and, after doing that, see what happens. Doing that actually did something, which concerns me a little bit, because that means I probably have a bad distribution box or some bad wiring in there, but we'll see. So I did this once and it did start, so let's see if it goes again. There's the fuel pump. Alright, so you're having a crank no start problem. Play with your fuse box a little bit here, the power distribution box, and make sure all your relays and fuses and things are doing what they're supposed to be doing, because that was obviously my problem right there. And trying to figure out what my problem with the fuse panel is here. Now it's starting up now, everything's running good, and I originally thought it was the fuses and the relays back in this section here, but I've now removed those and to check and make sure that those were the ones. Started the rig. Unfortunately, well, fortunately it started, which means it's not this set of relays here. So I'm going to pop these out this section here and see if it's one of those. Yes, I did look in here, but as usual, the Haynes ones are kind of, they get you there, but don't quite explain where you need to be. That's the only way I can explain these manuals. If you don't already kind of know what you're doing, these ones don't work great. If you can get a Chilton, go for Chilton. For some reason, I can't get a Chilton for a lot of the rigs I own. I don't know what the deal is, but they don't seem to make them anymore for all the rigs like they used to. Anyhow, so if you were wondering why I don't know which fuse it is, because this doesn't work, and I have an owner's manual that I got out of a wrecked car for this, and the owner's manual is for a limited, or not a limited, because this is a limited, for the Sport or something like that. It's for a different one, and actually the fuse panel that shows the picture in it is completely different than this one. So I think it might be out of like an earlier one or something like that. So anyway, I don't have the actual owner's manual to this rig. So needless to say, I pulled those out. It started up, which means it's not those ones. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these three here, this section here. Pay attention, more than likely all these are the same, but you never know. Most of these usually are interchangeable, but you never know. So I'm going to pull these out and see if it doesn't start with those ones. Then I'll know it's this set of relays or whatever relay. When I pull it out and it quits starting up, I know that's the fuel pump relay I need to deal with and figure out why I was here. And for your reference, I don't know, these might be lights. I'm not sure exactly what these are. That is a starter relay. When I pulled that, turn the key and nothing happens. Don't know exactly what this one is, but that one right there is your fuel pump one. So it's this little one right here, which kind of surprises me that it's a smaller one. I don't know why, but I would assume it would be a bigger one. And I don't know what any of the rest of these are. But, so if you're having a starting issue, it's probably that one right there, if it's a relay. You probably could swap this one for that one. You might end up without lights or something like that. You probably could even maybe stop this one with that one. I really don't know what any of the rest of them are. So, got to be careful about that. But usually to get yourself home in an emergency situation, if you're finding you're having relay problems, you can swap out relays. Same with these. Like if I ever have a fuel pump problem, you know, I would take one of these and use it in that section right there. But I don't know, I still don't see any reason why there's a problem here. And it is starting, so honestly, I'm not going to mess with it right now. I'm just going to call it bad luck, and it got joggled around and kind of maybe came loose. But I do also know that there are issues with these from other things I've found on the internet. So if you're having a starter problem, that one where you turn the key and absolutely nothing's happening, could be, I would start right there. That's the easiest thing you can look at right there. If you're having a fuel pump issue like I was, that one right there, and it's 1, 2, 3, the fourth one down are the small ones and the second one over in the middle. If you have this same fuse block that I do, or I should call it power distribution box, because technically your fuses are on the inside. This just kind of distributes the power. Now relays, don't bypass relays unless you are absolutely stranded and have no other way of doing it, because relays do keep your rig from catching on fire. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of mess with a little bit more, make sure I don't have a relay that's maybe going bad or something like that. Things that I noticed in other, from the what I've seen online, is that they tend to go bad. The boxes themselves tend to have problems, and you know, either you got to replace the whole distribution box, or really hope I don't need to do, or I need to go ahead and there's a couple tricks that you can do. So I'll have to figure that out for myself. What I want to do. Crank position sensor, that seemed to be something that a lot of people have a problem with. The coil packs, yet again, there's different ways on checking those out and figuring out if you have problems there or if it's one of your spark plug wires. But yet again, the coil pack would stop it from running, but the the spark plug wires, unless you had a lot of bad ones, I wouldn't think that would make it run like crap, but it wouldn't really stop it from running altogether like this did. I'm actually very surprised that the putting starter fluid in there didn't work. I mean, that would have worked back on my 1972 Chevy Nova, so I don't know why it doesn't work on one of these, or where the difference is if you have to have all this stuff hooked up to make things go. I don't know, but it didn't work for me. But obviously it was a fuel issue, so I would have thought putting the starter fluid in there would have at least made it kind of cough or sputter or do something, but it didn't do anything. So whether or not that works for you, you'll have to figure that one out for yourself. So and then fuel pressure, there's right here, you probably can't see it, but there is a little blue thing. You would definitely have to take the cover off to find it, and behind the throttle body down here there's a little blue cover which goes to a Schrader valve type situation, like you'd have like blowing up your tire, like a valve stem type deal. And you can hook your pressure. I believe you can go rent them from like O'Reilly's and places like that, parts stores. Hook the pressure gauge up to that and check and see if you're getting the right amount of fuel pressure. I didn't have to go that far with this. That was something I was going to check. Once again, go check out the EasyAutoDiagnostics.com. EasyAutoDiagnostics.com. Not affiliated. They haven't said talk to me one bit. I'm just saying that's where I found a lot of this information at. So you might want to go check them out if you're having a problem. They had lots of different step-by-steps on how to diagnose things, how to check your spark plugs, how to check the coil, how to check your crank position sensor. I didn't even know there was such thing, to be honest. So it looks like that's a pretty easy thing sort of to get to. There's a few things that might be in your way, but if you have to change that out, it doesn't look like it's that difficult. So, you know, don't let somebody say, hey, it's a crank position sensor and we're going to charge you $1 million because it's heckin' gone inside your motor. It's not that hard to get to. Coil pack, I mean, super easy. Unplug it, unbolt it, plug a new one back in, plug it all back together. Don't let people charge you out the nose for those kind of things. A couple of tools and you're golden with that. I mean, it's right there on top, ready to go. So spark plugs look like a real pain in the backside on this thing, but I will be doing a video on that because I do know I need to do spark plugs. So I'm going to end it here. I'll give you an update later on when I figure out what I'm going to do. As far as I know now, it has something to do with the relay and the power distribution box there. I got a problem there, so I'm going to have to fix that. When I figure out what I'm going to do and when I have a better idea on that, I'll give you an update video. All right, this is Sam, Jack of all, master of none. You all have a good one.